Okay, so tonight's homework is on how to write the persuasive essay intro and thesis. At the end of this tutorial, you'll review the basic structure of an intro, paragraph, and an essay, and look at a few examples for how to write a thesis sentence. All right, so what are the steps to a great introduction? Well, the key to an effective persuasive essay is the introduction. So you're going to need to get the reader's attention and convince them to keep reading, and hopefully get them to agree to your views. You're going to write a thesis statement that states your position on the topic. You need to be able to list your arguments on the topic and write a few sentences that explain why this topic is important to the reader. People will keep on reading if you convince them that they will benefit from what you're about to tell them. So please make sure you take some good notes on this, because I don't want to see any weak introductions when you turn in your essay. All right, how do you set up the paragraph? Well, you could start with an interesting quote or statement that's related to the topic. You could start with a startling fact, something that really catches the reader's attention. You could start with an anecdote. Now, remember, we talked about this last week. What is an anecdote? It's basically a personal story that relates to the topic in some way and becomes engaging for the reader. You could then move into the thesis. So we're going to talk in the next couple of slides for different examples for thesis options. And then finally, you should list off your arguments exactly in the order that you're going to discuss them, and then transition into the body of the essay. You can either list them or generally imply what those arguments are going to be. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow night's homework on exactly how to put together the body of your paper. But for the most part, you want to definitely list out what it is that you're going to be talking about, and go on from there. All right, so let's talk about some types of thesis sentences. There's a couple of different ways that you could set this up. So we're going to go over all of it. I believe in your homework, I want you to write down at least one example, and then you'll just need to decide which one speaks to you the most, and that'll be what you'll use on the essay. So, some thesis sentence suggestions. The first one I'm going to talk about is the situation stance topic sentence. So basically, what you're going to do is list the topic and then also give me your personal opinion or stance on the topic. So my example here, although some parents buy cell phones for their children, this is a serious mistake. So this first section is the topic. So the topic is parents buying cell phones for children, and your stance on the topic is this last part. You think it's a serious mistake, so you're in the negative against this topic. You don't think parents should be buying cell phones for children. Okay, another example. The topic: many teenagers believe that cell phones are a necessity. Your stance on the topic: these devices cause many problems. Notice that you're separating the topic from your position or stance on the topic with a comma. So just remember, it's a compound sentence, and it's just basically you're going to list the topic and then give your side of it. If your school adopts a uniform policy, comma, school climate will improve immediately. So the topic is school uniforms, and your stance is that it will improve the climate of the school. Last one, even though my allowance has remained the same for the last couple of years, comma, I believe it needs to be increased. So the topic is allowance, and your stance is that you think you should have an increased allowance. Okay, moving on. Fanboys. So these are a type of sentence where you're using a comma. It's a compound sentence, and the fanboy stands for the conjunction that you're using for and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So kind of very similar to what we saw before, but you're adding in a conjunction specifically that relates to fanboys. So many children carry cell phones, comma, but it is a big mistake. So there's your conjunction. Okay, teenagers need cell phones, so parents should purchase phones for them immediately. So there's your fanboy for the word so. All right, our school adopted a uniform dress code, but the school climate has not improved significantly. So there it is again. Last one, a small allowance is a thing of the past, so my allowance must be increased. So there you go. So kind of the same topics that we had on the first one, but showing how you can add in fanboys to make it a little bit different. All right, last example I'm going to go through tonight, semicolon thesis sentences. These are a little bit more complex. You're stating the topic, you're stating your stance, but you're using some words in here and the semicolon piece to make it a little bit more of a compound complex sentence, or a complex sentence, I should say. All right, so elementary school children want to carry cell phones. However, it is a bad idea. So you'll notice that you've got a semicolon as well as a comma in here. and using the word however. So many parents wonder why their child needs a cell phone. However, from a teen's point of view, it's a necessity. Next one, our school adopted a uniform dress code. As a result, the school climate significantly improved. So you can see I'm using not just however, you can use other words here, as a result, etc. As my age and responsibilities increase, sadly, my allowance does not. This needs to change. So it's a combination of using a complete or a couple of just different dependent clauses to make it all work and make sense. So semicolon and a comma in here. And you're still kind of just giving me your topic and your stance, but you're just adding in a little bit more to make it more complex. All right, you're finished. Honor students, please don't forget to submit the digital whisk for your homework. And if you can, rate this tutorial and if it was helpful or not. Again, hopefully you wrote down all the different types of thesis statements that we could use and at least one example so that you can carry that over and help yourself when we start writing the intro tomorrow. Thanks, guys.